of Money with Santosh Sirur.
Hello and welcome to another episode of The Sound of Money. First of all, many thanks for an amazing response for the previous episode, episode 38, where we had Miss Monica Hallan on the show. And today we have a very special guest on this show, a name that you may have heard if you've been tuned into business television in India, and he is Mr. Suresh Sadagopan. Mr. Sadagopan is the MD and the Principal Officer of Ladder 7 Wealth Planners. He's been on the board of directors of FPSP India and also the founder president of the Financial Planners Guild. And of course, the reason why Mr. Sadagopan joins me on this broadcast of The Sound of Money is a very special one. He's recently released his edition 2 of his book, which is very well known. It's got a very unique title, If God Was Your Financial Planner. Hi, Mr. Sadagopan, and welcome to this episode of The Sound of Money.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Santosh. Thanks so much for inviting me into your show.
Mr. Sadagopan, what intrigued me and very curious to know is the title itself, If God Was Your Financial Planner, because especially when we talk of investment planning, when people start investing, there are lots of complications in one's mind. And, you know, whether we continue with it, people have no idea about objectives. And then when you add a word God, a lot of time that itself is a big hope, you know, that things will work in their favor and that investment will work in their favor. So my first question to you is, even before we talk about the book, if you talk a little bit about your own journey as a financial planner and your practice, I'm sure our listeners will get a lot more insight into your own profession.
Yeah. So I came into financial services industry in 2002. In fact, incidentally, I was in a completely different area. I was in the area of training resources, reselling training resources once upon a time. And I made a mid-career switch and transition, and I did my certified financial planner, CFP certification. I joined in 2003 or rather 2004 beginning, and I completed that in 2005. But I went into practice in 2004 itself as a financial advisor. I would say, even today people are talking about challenges in terms of actually getting a fee and things like that.
Yeah.
But I did not have any problem in terms of actually getting a fee. Of course, my fee at that time was low. But having said that, even the awareness was extremely low.
Yeah.
At that time, I had to tell people what is financial planning. I had to start from there. Things have come a very long way from there. Today, people who are approaching me are absolutely clued in. And they ask me very pinpointed question about what they want and whether we will be able to achieve that, give them that outcome. But back then it was a completely different situation. But having said that, when we actually positioned ourselves as a proper fee-only, fee-based advisor at that time, and we positioned what we are actually going to do, what is it in it for them.
Yeah.
In terms of actual, say, a plan construction, a blueprint construction, and then a proper set of advice to achieve their goals. When we did all that, when we positioned that, there was absolutely no resistance from the clients in terms of actually paying a fee and coming to us. So I would say my journey has been reasonably smooth. And over a period of time, I have also been refining. Initially, I also was very new to the profession.
Yeah.
And over a period of time, I was able to add much more detailing, and the plan itself has become far more in-depth and I would say, more holistic. So over a period of time, I've been able to transition and I have been able to get many more clients. And now I have a firm, I have advisors working under me. Of course, there has been SEBI came out with a regulation, advisory regulation in 2013. I've been a advisor far before that, but they came and put a structure to the advisory profession itself in 2013. And since then, I have been registered as a registered investment advisor, or RIA, in the country. And so we have been one of the early movers into the profession. Okay. And I would say this is a noble profession. I'll just sign off with that. Yeah. I'll say it's a noble profession, just like the case of a doctor. A doctor is seen as a noble profession. A teaching profession is seen as a noble profession. In the case of a doctor, they take care of the health of the person. Yeah. And the other very important portion, which one has to contend with, is the wealth that one has. I mean,
Yeah.
it has a lot of multifarious meanings today for
True.
everybody. So we are those people. If we are able to do that portion well, we will be making a major difference in the client's life and actually in the society itself. So I take that role very seriously. I'm what you call a fiduciary. I put the client's best interest ahead of our own self-interest,
Yeah.
and that role I take it very, very seriously. I want to be client first.
Interesting. Your book, If God Was Your Financial Planner. Now, what exactly is the motivation for you to write this book? Especially considering the fact that there are lots of books on these kind of subjects in the market. What led you to write this book?
Yeah, I mean, that's a very good question, Santosh, because I want to tell that to all the viewers.
Yeah.
See, I have been a financial advisor since 2004, as I had mentioned earlier.
Hmm.
And over a period of time, and this is the only thing that I've been doing for a very, very long time.
Hmm.
So there are people who are coming to us and we are providing financial advice to those people. And they are our clients. We are taking care of their wealth. I mean, they are reasonably well funded.
Yeah.
I mean, their future is kind of taken care. They are getting good outcomes. So those things are there.
Hmm.
But those are only in hundreds.
Hmm.
What about the other people out there who also require the financial advice? There are only so many people out there who are actually providing financial advice.
Yeah.
And Santosh, for your information and for the viewers' information, that number is less than 1,000 today in
Hmm.
the country as
Wow.
of today.
Imagine. Yeah.
So imagine that. So if we have a 140 crore population, and even if the addressable population is only 14 crores,
Hmm.
I mean, still, I mean, that is 140 million. For 140 million people, we are having less than 1,000 advisors, and which means that a lot of people will be operating without having the benefit of a good quality advisor.
True.
So I was really thinking, and there are certain people we were not able to take to for multiple reasons.
Yeah.
I was thinking that I mean we should not be exclusionary in this whole thing,
Hmm.
and we need to actually at least the basic tenets of financial planning
Yeah.
that should be put out, and based on my experience and expertise which I've gained over a period of time, that should be put out in the public domain,
Yeah.
so that at least people will be able to imbibe that, and many of the basic tenets they'll be able to incorporate and take it from there. So that
Yeah.
is the basic premise why I wanted to write the book.
Okay. Okay. Interesting. Can you give us some insights? I'm sure the reader is there to, will definitely go and buy the book, but still a bit of a trailer or a peekaboo into what kind of unique features does this book have and what can we expect as a reader?
Correct. So there are three different things which I want to broadly tell you, three, four different things.
Hmm.
One is I mentioned that I'm a financial advisor. I'm a practicing financial advisor.
Hmm.
So it is not somebody sitting on the sidelines, or I'm a kind of an armchair academic
Hmm.
writing a book. I mean, it is not like that.
Yeah.
It is a practitioner's, say, if you want to call it, the practitioner's wisdom, which is
Hmm.
actually going to be coming across in this particular book.
Yeah.
So along with that, I mean, we have also taken various life situations of people who are in various kinds of situations. Like there is a person by name Bala
Hmm.
who loses his job,
Hmm.
and I mean, not that I have a magic wand and I can sort out that particular problem, but we
Yeah.
get talking.
True.
And in that situation, then I mean, there are certain things which I'm suggesting, and
Hmm.
then basically that kind of starts a trail of thought for him, and
Yeah.
then he comes up with a solution himself.
Yeah.
So there is a retirement planning case, which I mean, actual situation. There is a person where the main income earner is, I mean, suddenly meets with an unfortunate end.
Hmm.
There is a couple who were almost on the verge of divorce
Hmm.
because of financial mismanagement and imprudence on the part of
Hmm.
the gentleman,
Yeah.
and things like that. I mean, there are many such situations where, I mean, the actual situations which we have kind of seen in our practices, I have tried to bring that in some form. It cannot be the exact same thing, but
Yeah.
in some form I have tried to bring in. The second thing is, see, as far as our life is concerned, money is very important in life,
Hmm.
but money is not life itself. I mean,
Yeah.
so that's a very, very major distinction.
Yeah.
And for a lot of people, even our own clients, I mean, that distinction is not that very clear. So a lot of people are actually going after money for its own sake. So a
Hmm.
lot of times I ask people, okay, now you have 50 crores. 50 crores can meet all your requirements and much more.
Yeah.
Now, if your 50 crores become 55 or 57, does it really matter? And if it becomes 57 or 60, in
Hmm.
what way is your life going to change? When I
Yeah.
ask this question, people don't have a good answer for that.
Hmm.
So the point is, I mean, people are pursuing money for its own sake.
Yeah.
My point is, boss, you have to pursue life. You have to live a life which is delightful, where you are able to achieve your potential, where you
Yeah.
are able to see peace and contentment,
Hmm.
where you really flower as an individual. You are able to achieve your potentialities.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we need to talk about that, and that is why the other feature of the book is the highlight.
Hmm.
I have brought God into the book for
Hmm.
that reason.
Okay.
See, some of these weighty matters which I want to convey in the book,
Yeah.
I did not want to talk about that. I wanted somebody who had that weight and gravitas.
Hmm.
And that is why directly I have brought God into the picture,
Hmm.
where he comes and explains about the life philosophy itself and how we should take life as it comes
Hmm.
and what we should aspire for in life at various points in time throughout the book.
Yeah.
He comes across and he gives his pearls of wisdom,
Hmm.
which I have captured for the reader.
Okay.
And if God was your financial planner, in a sense, it is because it is not a title which I have thrown in just like that. He comes throughout, and he is also guiding me at every turn when
Yeah.
I'm having a problem. I have a
Yeah.
lot of problems. I'm a normal human being, so he
Hmm.
guides me at various points vis-a-vis my client. So
Okay.
that is why I have mentioned that if God was your financial planner, how would it be? So,
Okay.
I mean, I wanted to kind of mention that. And the third thing, very important in this book, is that typically the finance books are maybe chapter after chapter, page after page of lot of financial information, and
Yeah.
for a lot of people, it is very boring and
Yeah.
not very
Becomes a very
accessible.
dry subject at a point in
Dry
time. Yeah.
subject. That is why people run away from finance books. So what I have done here in this case is that I have written it in a story format.
Okay.
So if you look at it, there is one protagonist whose story will unfold throughout the book,
Okay.
and in between there will be a lot of case studies, lot of people coming and going,
Hmm.
whose cases and whose stories also we will be hearing, will be contending with from time
Okay.
to time.
Okay.
So the most important thing is, if a person actually takes this up, it will read like a novel. At
Hmm.
least three or four people have said that I have taken it and I've read it in 1 or 2 sessions. So
Yeah.
it's like a novel. I
Okay.
mean, you don't hear that said about financial books
Financial books.
a lot
Correct.
of times, right?
Correct. Yeah.
So those are the three broad things which are slightly different in this book.
Okay. You mentioned that you've been a practicing financial planner, not really an armchair advisor. So the incidents in the book that one may come across, are these real life cases based on the experiences, the clients that you've met? How have you evolved a storyline?
Yeah, see, client confidentiality is very important.
Yeah.
So it is definitely not exactly the same situation which I have encountered.
Yeah.
But in various formats, I have encountered most of the situations.
Yeah.
So I have made appropriate changes. This is the characters which are coming here are all fictional. The
Hmm.
situations have all been suitably fictionalized,
Yeah.
so that it does not have any direct bearing to real life cases. I mean, I want to be very clear on that. I don't want
Yeah.
to put actual client situations out there,
Yeah.
even if I change the name.
Hmm.
So to that extent, it is fiction, but the situations and what really happens in people's life and things like that are actual real things which can
Hmm.
actually happen in anybody's cases. Like I was telling you about um the income earner suddenly passing away in an accident.
True.
This has happened in a lot of cases. Okay, but and what happens to the family, the kind of emotional say roller coaster and the trauma that they undergo,
Hmm.
and what kind of help and succor a financial advisor can provide.
Yeah.
That is something that I have really brought into the book, and that is what is more important from the reader's perspective. It
Okay.
also gives a feel that financial advisor is not somebody sitting in front of the computer and crunching numbers
Hmm.
and devoid of emotion, and he is going to say, okay, cut your expenses, cut down your goals, now live in a say 1 BHK. So I mean,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
not like that. I mean, that's what I'm
You're
trying
probably
to.
bringing the human element in
Yeah,
discussions. Okay,
correct,
interesting.
correct.
But
And
having, yeah, carry on. Yeah,
one
carry
of
on.
the things which where I'm able to bring the human element is through the story. When it is a story, the human element actually comes in.
Okay. But what about, the underlying? Is the underlying about the financial products and their features? Is that the messaging that you eventually like to give to the reader?
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of things that we have talked about in this book. So one of the things is, for example, what is financial planning?
Hmm.
What is life planning? There is a
Hmm.
very interesting area called life planning, which I would say should be a precursor to financial planning in every case. So I have talked about that. I'm not going to give away too much
Yeah.
of this. We can do another podcast on that.
Yeah.
Then we have talked about, I mean, what is risk itself? I mean, how
Hmm.
do we perceive risk? How do we measure risk?
Yeah.
We have talked about retirement planning as a concept. In that context, I have talked about certain products and things like that. Okay, and so on. I mean, products have been covered,
Hmm.
but it is not that I have focused too much on the product. There are lots and lots of books which are on the product. So, like for example, mutual funds I have covered, I have touched upon.
Hmm.
Like Monica Halan has written a whole book on Let's Talk Mutual Funds. So she would
Yeah.
have covered that in detail.
Yeah.
See, this book is a kind of a overview into financial planning and advisory,
Hmm.
and how to approach life itself, and how to approach finance itself. In my opinion, products are a small subset of this overall architecture which we are talking about.
Hmm.
And I've approached this whole subject from that point of view. If a person is going to read the book, they will understand the importance of having a blueprint, of
Hmm.
going to a proper financial advisor, of having the life sorted, of going after happiness in life, and so on
Okay.
and so forth. And
Okay.
so that is what they will understand from this.
Okay. But would someone be able to actually, after reading the book, make a financial plan, or actually put a portfolio on their own after reading the book? Is there some self-teaching in this book?
Yeah. So the book is not written, or it is not intended for self-help in that sense.
Hmm.
It is not a self-help book. It is not like, okay, now these are the 1, 2, 3, 4 steps by
Hmm.
which you can actually do that. If you really ask me, that is going to be slightly difficult. So what I
Yeah.
have tried to cover in this is, I have tried to highlight the important features when actually one is looking at finance. I
Hmm.
have also highlighted, the area of financial advice, and it's very important for a person to have good quality advice. I mean, so we are financial advisors,
Yeah.
and there are also going to be MF distributors. Instead of doing things on your own,
Hmm.
and without anybody actually to guide you,
Hmm.
if you don't have a financial advisor, at least you should go to a MF distributor or somebody who's in the financial domain,
Yeah.
who can provide some level of say counsel.
Hmm.
So that is something that I have highlighted. So the fact is that you will not be able to do a financial plan, or you will not be able to do the portfolio, putting together a portfolio after this.
Yeah.
But at least you will have a reasonable understanding of the financial domain, about financial advisory, and for the need for a financial advisor itself. A lot of people are thinking in terms of products.
Yeah.
They are thinking that, okay, I buy a pension plan, my retirement is sorted. I buy
Hmm.
NPS, my retirement is sorted. I buy a child insurance plan, my child education is sorted. Actually, I mean, things are far more nuanced. It
Yeah.
is not as simple as buying a bunch
Yeah.
of products and things like
Yeah.
that. So that is something that I have covered here.
Okay.
There are multiple ways, for example, for achieving your retirement funding.
Hmm.
Uh, Pension products are just the one single way.
Hmm.
There are so many ways by which you can actually achieve the retirement funding.
Yeah.
So those other practical aspects are something that I have covered. It is not a do-it-yourself book,
Yeah. It's more of
but it will
channeling
give
the
a lot
thought
of insight.
process, probably, right? It's probably
Yes, yes,
channeling the thought process. Yeah.
yes, yes.
So in terms of the benefits, who could derive the most benefits? Who is a target, your audience for this kind of a book?
Correct, correct. Good you asked me that. So the intended target audience, like I said right in the beginning, the intended target audience was those people, those investors who are currently not having financial advisors, who are probably on a loose end,
Hmm.
and who are probably feeling maybe they may require a financial advisor, and they have not made up their mind. Okay,
Yeah.
so for people, for them to get some kind of clarity about what is financial advice, why financial advice is important, about life planning, about
Yeah.
having a blueprint in place, and for it is basically intended at that kind of an audience who currently are not advised at all, or they are doing things on their own
Yeah.
after reading up some newspapers and articles.
Yeah.
The other audience which I later on stumbled upon, I mean, I did not intend to write for that audience, but later on it was pointed out after I had written the book, is that a lot of people pointed out this is absolutely useful for advisors themselves.
Okay.
See, I'm an advisor who has almost now 19 years of practice
Yeah.
experience. So there are a lot of advisors who are probably aspiring to start a practice.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of advisors who have a 2-year-old practice, 4-year-old practice, 5-year-old practice, and so on. I mean, they're much junior than me.
Yeah.
So for a lot of those people, what I heard was that, I mean, this book will be very, very helpful in terms of how an advisor actually ends up dealing with the client, and what kind of a role that an advisor can actually play in the lives of their clients. It will be very inspirational, and it will motivate them to take their advisory practice in that direction, and so that it can be more fulfilling for them,
Yeah.
and it can give wonderful outcomes for the client. So that is
Yeah.
the second thing I heard. And deriving out of that, any student of finance who has any kind of interest in personal finance or financial advisory, I think that is also probably another audience. So it's a very wide audience. So the investing public at large, and the students, I mean, who have an interest in personal finance or
Yeah.
financial planning, and existing advisor or people who are aspiring to become advisors. Those are the natural audience for this kind of a book.
Okay, interesting. Mr. Sadagopan, you have almost 2 decades of amazing experience in this financial planning space. Uh, and and India, as we all know, is at the cusp of that huge growth in decades to come. And when it comes to mutual fund investments, or for that matter, equity, we are having tons and tons of people getting into this and really making true money for themselves, right? What is your view on this? What on based on your experience? What are those your thoughts that you would like to share with our listeners on equity investing or generally investments?
Yeah, so your observation is right on the button that India is on the cusp, and it is already happening.
Yeah.
India is rapidly becoming wealthy. The number of millionaires are going up by leaps and bounds. The number of billionaires itself is about 150 or something. We are number 3 in the world.
Hmm.
So the wealth effect will be seen more and more in the decades to come.
Yeah.
So when you have 20 lakhs or 10 lakhs, probably, I mean, you can do everything on your own. And even if you make an error, it's not going to be such a major error in rupee terms.
Yeah.
But if you have 2 crores, or if you have much more money than that,
Hmm.
even a small error can actually run into tens of lakhs of rupees.
True.
So when you have that kind of situation, you will start looking for an advisor. So an advisor is going to become far more important going forward, and that is also one of the reasons why I want to why I have clearly pointed out in the book that an advisor is really important, and for getting good outcomes, you need to have an advisor. I mean, more so for people who have wealth,
Yeah.
and even for other people who have comparatively less wealth, probably in a sense, a financial advisor is very important.
Yeah.
Because the margin for error is lower for people who are on a shoestring kind of a budget to achieve all
True.
their goals.
Yeah.
So as far as investments are concerned, the thing which I want to leave with the viewers is that, see, product is not the thing that you have to see. Cost is not the thing that you have to see. While all those things are important, what you have to have is a financial architecture. You have to have a blueprint. I mean, if you have a piece of land, you
Yeah.
don't call somebody, you don't call a JCB and start digging the ground for laying the foundation.
Yeah.
You have to go to an architect. You have to have a blueprint.
Yeah.
You will give what is your idea of what you want to construct. The
Yeah.
architect will come up with some drafts and ultimately come up with a final blueprint,
Yeah.
and that you will take to a civil contractor.
True.
And then, based on the blueprint, he will construct whatever you had in mind. So
Agree.
it's exactly the same role that we are playing, and I think that role is very important. That financial architect role is very important,
Yeah.
and this is something all the investors should really bear in mind. So have a blueprint before actually constructing a house. Don't call a JCP and start digging.
Absolutely. You've seen markets, I'm sure, almost 2000 around when you went into this profession. I think it was probably around 7,000, 8,000, and now we are on 65, all and reaching great heights. Uh, I'm sure the journey of the Sensex or the NSE has been amazing, truly brilliant. Uh, Did you ever think that this was what was the promise ahead in life, and where do you see this going in decades to come?
Yeah. So, I mean, I never ever predict the markets. Having said that, I mean, even in 2000, the market had given something like, say, 15-16%. Even today, if you look at it,
Yeah.
compounded annual growth rate is about 15-16%. So the markets have a way of rewarding people who stay in it for the long term.
Yeah.
There can be a really gut-wrenching, say, volatility in between,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is the very nature of the market. So
True.
markets go high and low. So that is the very nature of the market. So that nothing can be done.
Hmm.
So the point is, any investor, if they are investing a portion of their money in equity, which is what can really create long-term wealth and ahead of the inflation, they should be willing to stay invested for the long term. When I say invested for the long term, it is not like uh, put it in there in the portfolio and forget it. It
Yeah.
cannot be done like that.
Yeah.
But as long as the particular investment is a good investment, you have to keep it for the long term.
Hmm.
So now, do we have to do a portfolio review from time to time? The answer is yes.
Yeah.
But largely speaking, if the portfolio is a good one, one should let it be and not be swayed by the market volatility, which has nothing to do with the intrinsic potential of that particular investment. Like, for example, the market corrects by 20%, and say, let us say a stock was, let us say at 300, now it has become 200, it
Yeah.
has fallen by 33%. Does it mean that that company suddenly, somehow, in a matter of say 20 days, it has really lost value by 33%? Answer is obvious. Answer is no. So it's
Obviously.
a temporary correction, temporary volatility. We have to have the emotional maturity to stay the course. There is
Course.
an entire subject called behavioral finance today.
Yeah.
And one of the things we advisors are supposed to do with our clients, and we are striving to do that, is to keep their emotions in check and ensure that they themselves do not really ruin the portfolio that has been carefully put together for them. So emotions are important. Behavior, we have to, I mean, we have to shape it in such a way that they get to good outcomes. Long-term investment through equity, probably, or equity-oriented products, probably is the best way to build
Yeah.
wealth. I see tremendous potential going forward for the country. I mean, if we have been able to do 15-16% compound annual growth rate
Yeah.
in a time when India was kind of a middling economy
Yeah.
and with fairly, I mean, not very great growth. I think the times we have already hit that cusp,
Yeah.
that inflection point where we can actually grow by leaps and bounds.
True.
I think the future is glorious if you were to look at it. Investors are in for a good time.
Absolutely. On that very, very positive, optimistic note, Mr. Suresh Sadagopan, MD and Principal Officer, Ladder 7 Wealth Planners, and of course, the author of If God Was Your Financial Planner. Many, many thanks for joining us on this episode of The Sound of Money.
Thank you so much. Thanks a lot. I hope it is useful for the viewers.
Indeed, indeed. And well, with that, we come to the end of this episode of The Sound of Money. Always a pleasure for joining in and being subscribers to this podcast with me, Santosh Sirur, and my guest today, Mr. Suresh Sadagopan. Thank you so much for being on The Sound of Money. Bye-bye.
Sound of Money with Santosh Sirur.